In this video, I think Cal Newport successfully shows a causal link between the universal availability of cell phones, and in particular social media, and weakened performance on standardized tests, specifically the PISA test. We already knew that social media was reduced to reduced mental health, so it's pretty intuitive that it would extend to reduced performance, cognitive performance. And he isolates the causal variable not as social media per se, but as overstimulation. And so you could have other sources of overstimulation which are decoupled from the cell phone in theory. But a lot of it does come from the cell phone, in particular doom scrolling. Now, he offers several remedies, and one of them would be basically fasting from social media, not only restricting the use of the cell phone and social media, but substituting with cognitively sharpening work. And in particular, he suggests reading books. And this is where I start to disagree with some of the solutions. So I agree on the problem, but some of the solutions don't really work for me. He gives, in my listening, kind of romantic Hemingway vibes that we can just sort of read our favorite novel and we will become smarter. I'm not a fan of this sort of recreational, disorganized reading. I like to read with intent. So I think writing is actually more beneficial than reading. And when you're writing, you might read as part of your writing process because you might want to come up with sources, okay? But in that case, those sources are not a random pick of your favorite novel. They are systematically selected because they build into something you're tangibly working on. So they're related to your current article, say. Or maybe you do read fiction because you are writing fiction and you want to draw inspiration from other authors. You want to see what the styles are that the audience might expect. So you're reading with intent. And I think this is more performant than sort of random recreational reading. To make things even more tangible for your career, I might prefer to read nonfiction, but a lot of nonfiction has nothing to do with my career. Then I might zero in on nonfiction related to my career. So I am a programmer, so maybe I'm reading computer science textbooks, but in the world of programming, reading the textbooks is out of date. This is a low efficiency way to adopt currently relevant information. A lot of the information that's going to be more relevant is going to be via YouTube video or a course. Even more useful than taking programming courses would be the equivalent of writing. So the equivalent of writing for programming would be building projects. Then instead of taking a smorgasbord of courses, I will be studying particular skills that are relevant to my current project. And I think this is a much better way to acquire useful skills. Maybe Cal is right. Maybe there's something magical about reading, and there are some studies that have shown something like this, and reading even paperback books, not reading on a screen. So there could be something cognitively interesting about the specific act of reading. We also know that there are things that are cognitively interesting about the physical act of writing. Literally moving your hand in such a way helps with the neural reinforcement. It may be different than typing and clicking with a mouse, but I suspect not. So I could be wrong. But I am going to recommend building projects with your free time. So I'm going to suggest that instead of Cal's remedy where he suggests reading a book, I'm going to suggest that the general action of study or active listening will improve your cognition relative to doom scrolling. I think we'd probably agree on that. But then you can use this study and this active listening, and you can do something constructive and productive and actually build something. So all of this to say continuous learning, but ultimately building projects in your free time. And so since I'm dealing with the programming career, I'll suggest that you build something related to programming. But if you're from another industry, you can still do the equivalent here. And the equivalent would be building something. Maybe it's building something tangible. Maybe it's building a shed.